Hello my sea fans! We are doing our second video about mermaid modeling, and we are talking today about underwater modeling. So not just like in the surf and on land like we did last time, we're actually talking about the underwater modeling stuff. But before we get started, I would like you to please click that like and subscribe button, hit that little bell if you want to get notified about my new videos. Check me out at patreon.com/Raina Mermaid for exclusive content. Okay. Underwater modeling. For some, super easy. For others, we float like boats and it can be more of a challenge. So I want to share with you some of the tips that I have learned from many professionals, many amazing photographers, many amazing models, and many mermaids. Obviously, the very first disclaimer for any type of modeling, but especially underwater modeling, is that you can drown, you can die, you can get swept away by the ocean, so you need to be safe. If you're doing this, honestly, you should have at least your level 1 freediving certification. If you're doing it in a pool, the first half of level 1 is all you're gonna need. It's gonna train you how to be comfortable underwater and holding your breath. If you're doing it in the ocean, then you should have the whole thing so that you can be safe in the ocean. If you're following freediving principles, you will have a safety diver with you. I actually like to hire an actual scuba diver to be underwater and watching me when I do ocean stuff. And then I've got the photographer and I've got a spotter as well. But it's nice to have the scuba diver because they can literally grab me and pull me and move me around and take me up for air if I need it. But safety is the biggest thing. Safety, 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 safety. So many people risk it, but honestly, your life is not worth it. Certification makes a huge difference, so check it out. The first thing I would suggest is before you get all suited up, you scope out the area where you want to be doing your photos with a pair of goggles. Doesn't matter if it's a pool, doesn't matter if it's the ocean. So many mermaids crack their heads in a pool. So many mermaids crack their head in a tank coming up because they're not familiar with the tank surroundings. They hit beams. It happens at the dive bar. The first thing they taught me when I went to go do a photo shoot there was that there were beams, support beams, every few feet, and I had to always raise my arms so that I wouldn't hit my head. So scope out your atmosphere first. Check out the pool, check out the lake, check out the spring, check out the ocean area that you're going to be swimming in. Be aware of your surroundings because as soon as you take those goggles off, you can't see. You're just going to see blurry shapes, and if you're in chlorine, your eyes are going to burn. So yes, please, check it out first. Just do it. I know you're excited, but do it first. If you're going to be using weights, again, you should have training, and you should be using them safely. An example I have is I used weights to pose for Cheryl Walsh, and I'm going to do a whole video about Cheryl Walsh because she's amazing. And we weighted the tail so that I could pose, and the pool was set up in a way that all I had to do was break the surface with my hand and my wrangler would pull me up because my weights made me so heavy that it wasn't going to be easy for me to swim. And if I was wasting all this energy going up and down, I was going to lose my breath hold and it was going to get very hard to get into poses. So we're going to talk about the Cheryl Walsh experience another time, but just basically the takeaway I want you to have from it is that you need to use your weights safely because if you have weights inside a mermaid tail, you can't ditch them the way you can ditch a weight belt, right? So you need to be properly weighted, you need to have some practice, you need a safety person with you, and you need to have some training. Like I said about coming up for air, minimizing the amount of actual swimming you're doing and energy that you're expelling is going to allow you to pose longer, to actually get into the character of what you're trying to do. I know when I was posing for Cheryl Walsh, I was able to hold my breath despite being super sick. I was still able to hold my breath for close to a minute, which is good considering how sick I was, because I wasn't swimming up and down and back and forth. I could, you know, have my tail pointed, be at the bottom of the pool, get into my movements, and do my poses. One mistake that everybody makes is squishing their eyes and puffing up their cheeks. I don't know why humans do this. It has to be a reflex of some sort, but we get into the water and we just automatically move. So many people do it, so many people do it. I've seen mermaids who are stunning on land, and then I've tried to do photos with them or video with them, and they swim like this, and they're posing like that. You have to get comfortable. You have to get acclimated. You can close your eyes if you want, but commit to closing them. Don't squish them up, relax them, okay? Get all that out of your system as you're going down. I find it helps me if I blow a little bit of air out of my mouth. helps me loosen up my face, my jaw, and everything as I'm going down. Also, blowing a little bit of air out of your nose as you descend will help you keep from having bubbles popping out while you're trying to get the photos. So basically, if you do it wrong, you're going down like this, and you got bubbles coming out. But if you do it right, you're able to sink into your position, you're able to be calm, you get a little bit of bubbles out of your nose, you relax your face, and then it's a million times easier to pose. It's just a reflex. You just have to practice and get over it, and the more that you can spend underwater without goggles getting comfortable, the more it's going to help you. Start with the goggles, but also practice without them in a safe environment. I really find it helps if I have some sort of mark if I want to get shots that show my eyes and my face. You can't really see anything, but something I found that helps is that GoPros have a little blinking red light, and some photographers will mount a GoPro on top of their whole unit that they're taking photos with their underwater housing. And that's kind of good, like I find that helpful. And when I would do GoPro footage in the aquarium, I could actually swim down to the glass and see that little red flashing light, and it would let me know where I was supposed to look. So having some kind of mark is great. Having the photographer also pick something that's large and underwater for you to look at. So okay, that rock over there, you can't really see it, but you can see the shape, you know it's there, and you know that you can turn your face that way. Another thing you need to be aware of when you're going underwater for pictures is not kicking up the bottom. Kicking up the bottom it stirs everything up, it makes the water dirty, it makes the shot not clear, and it ends up like discoloring it and all kinds of stuff. So if you're gonna go to the bottom, you either need to stay still long enough that everything's gonna settle, or you have to go close to the bottom but not kick it up. And that again takes practice. This is a thing that you can do in the beginning when you're scoping things out with your goggles on, and you can check and practice, and you'll get a sense of how deep you have to go. Some of us sink, some of us float. Some of us sink like a rock, and then once we're down, it's hard to pose because we feel so heavy. Some of us float like a boat, and once we're up, we're using all of our energy trying to stay down. I learned this great trick. Brett Stanley got me to pose in the dive bar as I sank. I actually sank for once because I had a bunch of weights in my tail, and I overweighted them, but I didn't have time to adjust it because of how much effort it took to get them in there. So I was sinking, so I posed as I sunk. I figured, oh, I've got about 5-6 seconds before I hit the bottom. That's enough time for a couple of shots. Likewise, when I'm in the ocean and Sean's doing my photos, or if you saw my friend Lloyd Bond's amazing photos he did of me, I would actually swim down to the bottom, strike my pose, and I would float up, and he would get the shot while I was floating up. Not everybody can get to that nice sweet spot in the middle and keep themselves suspended there. They're either going to go up or they're going to go down. So learn how to work with the up and the down, and you'll find you get way more photos. Because if you're only focused on hitting that middle one and you're not using the time that you're going down or using the time that you're going up, you're going to get a fraction of the photos. Even the most talented underwater photographer is still going to have most of them be outtakes that you don't want to keep, and a handful of them be really good, because there's just too many variables, right? So make use of that time. Make the sink work for you. Make the float work for you. Slow movements make for better poses. You don't need to be posing and going like this really fast. Slow and graceful. You get better shots that way. Eye gel is great to make it easier for your eyes to tolerate. Clear silicone earplugs are great if you're not going very deep. They don't show up in photos. Water in your eyes, water in your ears, it can be really distracting when you're trying to pose and to get comfortable, right? So if you take care of those elements, you're actually going to be all right and feel more comfortable. And believe it or not, there are some nose plugs that are fairly discreet. There's the Sinus Saver, which goes in your nose, and it kind of puffs things out a little bit. But again, a photographer in post can edit that out. I have one that I wear all the time in pictures. Nobody has noticed it yet unless I point it out. I never have people point it out. I will show videos and then after the fact be like, did you know I was wearing a nose plug? And it's literally just a little nose clip, but it's completely clear. And because it's clear, I can clone tool out the sides of it, and it actually just makes my nose a little pinched, but it looks like I've contoured it. That's what it looks like. So that's really great. I don't use nose plugs unless I'm doing a lot of flips, and that's just because I'm trying to negate getting a sinus infection, basically. But if I'm not going to be doing flips, as long as you push a little bit of air out your nose, you're not really going to get water up your nose, so you'll be all right. Like I said earlier, it's okay to close your eyes, just do it purposefully. you can give yourself that break and you can get those nice poses with your eyes closed. You just don't want to do this. Take breaks, keep warm and hydrated, breathe properly. Don't hyperventilate. You will have an underwater blackout, whether you're in the pool or the ocean. If you're in the ocean, you need to rely on somebody who can see to keep an eye out for wildlife so that you're not striking your pose and sticking your face right into a jellyfish. These things happen. Again, like our on land video, you don't want to be wearing a hair tie, so be mindful of that. I have found that in the ocean, in natural settings, if you do your makeup more theatrical, the way you would if you were trying to be on stage, so you maybe darken your eyebrows a little more, you go a little bit brighter with the lips, you go a little bit heavier with the eyeliner, it actually really helps your expression pop underwater. And like our other video, I'm just letting you know that sand and plant matter, you know, seaweed and stuff, it's all going to get in your tail, so be prepared for that. Modeling underwater is really fun. One last tip I have for you is that modeling underwater, sometimes the flash can be blinding. I mean, it's pretty much always blinding when you do it on land too and there's a flash, but underwater it's quite the strobe in the way that the light reflects. So you might see everything looking a little funny when a flash is going off, but you'll be all right. This is why you have a safety diver. You just need to stay calm and keep yourself oriented. Underwater modeling is a real art. It also requires a bit of athleticism and a lot of safety. So I really would just caution you to practice, have a safety plan in place, and don't just jump into the ocean willy-nilly to get some beautiful photos, because as soon as one of us drowns, it's game over for everybody. So let's be safe and get some beautiful photos. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Give me a click on the little bell there. Leave a comment. What other kind of stuff do you want to see? Check me out at patreon.com/RainaMermaid for exclusive mermaid content, awesome resources. Let me know in the comments here, what else do you want to know? Do you have any tips for underwater modeling? Maybe we can do a third video with tips from other people. I don't get to do it as much as I'd like to. It often only happens when I travel and maybe a handful of times here in the ocean because it's so dang cold. So dang cold. It's a crying shame. I feel like Elvis. I'm gonna write a song about cold Canada. I love you guys. Thank you so much for all your support and love, and best wishes. Again, like our online video, they're all online videos.